There was a time when Umbro ruled football, from the streets of Manchester to the World Cup in Pasadena.
Brazil win the World Cup!
But now, you barely see Umbro, and it's such a shame. And I feel like you can trace that back to 2008, when a big deal was made by another big company that kind of derailed everything. Right, so today, I think I want to do a bit of a deep dive into the rise and the fall of Umbro. So the Umbro story started here in Mabley, and more specifically, that pub right there. This is the Bull's Head, where Harold and Wallace Humphreys had the idea to create a football brand. I swear, all good ideas come from a pub, man, I swear. They took the from Humphreys and the bro from Brothers, of course, put it together. That makes Umbro simple, proper, and just, I love it. And back in the 1930s, they were already ahead of the curve. Smarter kits, lighter tailoring, football first design. And by 1934, they were already winning. Going into the FA Cup that year, Manchester City were playing Portsmouth. Both teams were dressed in Umbro. But even better for Umbro, the northern team, Manchester City, won that final and actually sent this letter. The fit, quality and smartness of the entire outfit was undoubtedly perfection. This was the new standard. I love coming to places like this. Like, it's just mad to think that this is where the idea for Umbro came from. You know, the huge footballing brand, one that kind of defined English football, started in that building. I love that. But I better leave. I think, you know, people are looking at me weird. Cheers, pal. Right now, I am in Wilmslow, where Umbro operated for about 80 years. The best part of their existence was here in Wilmslow. Annoyingly, I don't think the original factory is still about. I've looked on Google Maps, I've looked about, it's not. It would have been roughly around where I'm stood now. But I want to fast forward the story a little bit. I want to fast forward from the 30s now to the 80s and 90s, because in that period, Umbro went from, you know, the British brand to a global brand. They took it to the world. And think about it, there were so many defining moments of this time period with that Umbro badge on it. Think of England's heartbreak 1990, Brazil's brilliance in 1994, Ajax's European glory in 1995, United's treble in 1999 had Umbro plastered on it. It feels like every big era-defining moment had Umbro's branding over it. And just from a visual standpoint, every kit I just mentioned is stunning. And I think, you know, most of clubs' best kits come from that kind of early 80s, 90s period, and a lot of them would have been Umbro. Take my club, for example, Chelsea. I'm a Chelsea fan, and some of my favourite Chelsea kits ever are the Umbro ones, you know, the 97, the 04, like just perfection. And I mean, come on, let's just take a little moment here to appreciate some of the beauty of these shirts. Like, I feel like we have to. We're all kit lovers on this channel. We need to just admire this. One of my favourite things of the Umbros in the 90s is that Umbro taping down the sleeve here. You can see on this one, it's like a shiny kind of material, so it kind of blends in a little bit if you don't know it's there. But you know that United one, the 99, with it going all the way down the sleeve, it's just so nice. I mean, this shirt right here, this is Chelsea's best ever shirt. Easily, hands down, the best shirt Chelsea ever had, and I don't think it'll ever be topped. And I think it's the little details that make this special. I'm a sucker for a polo collar, so having that, I love that shiny blue on blue kind of stripes going on in the base. In that polo collar, you got a lovely Chelsea FC there. At the bottom, we've got a little badge with Stamford Bridge on. It's just perfect, isn't it? I mean, come on. In this time period, I feel like Umbro were just unstoppable. They were making masterpiece after masterpiece. But then we're going to fast forward again now to 2008, where I feel like everything changed. A big thing happened in 2008. Nike came in and bought Umbro for a huge £285 million. This was seismic, this was huge at the time, and on paper it was supposed to be the perfect marriage. Nike were trying to get their grip on global football, and they really wanted to compete with Adidas, and they were going to use Umbro's 80 years of footballing heritage, you know, the World Cup, the prestige, the clubs. They were going to use them to do that. But then on the other hand, Umbro now had their hands on Nike's global marketing machine. They were a financial powerhouse, so they had now tapped into that, also tapping into America. But in reality, it didn't end this way. The marriage did not end this way. Nike had bought a company that was already struggling revenue. Umbro were already on the down, and they didn't really find a way to get success out of it, so they sold just 4 years later. And after that sale, it felt like Umbro had lost everything. They lost England, they lost Manchester City, they lost relevance. And now the brand that helped build English football were gone from the Premier League. Nike left them just a little bit hollowed out. So yeah, post Nike, things were starting to look a little bit bleak for Umbro, but they got one thing that most companies don't really get: a fresh start, a complete blank page, and they rebuilt really smartly. They stripped back, they kind of went back to what their roots were, what they always knew: credibility and heritage. Collaborating with brands like Paris really brought Umbro to that youth culture, that streetwear culture, and it kind of opened up a wider audience, not just football kit related. And the timing of this couldn't have been more perfect, because as with everything, like, culture comes back around. So now 90s culture and Y2K culture is like cool again, relevant again, which means Umbro is now cool and relevant again. So by tapping into that with this street kind of wear, it just makes perfect sense. One thing I really, really love about Umbro's rebuild as well is they really tapped into their roots here in Manchester. They released collections that really reflected the city, like the Northern Quarter collection and the New Order collection. And let's go back to the football pitch, shall we? Because here as well, they stripped it all back and they went back to what they knew: clean, simple, tailored. Just look at some of the Brazilian teams that they've continued to work with: Grêmio, Santos. Simple colour palettes, elegant striping, proper football kits that just reflect the tradition of the football club. And yeah, I guess the same goes for like teams like West Ham recently, who've just kind of stripped it back and went real nostalgic and basic with it, but it just works so well in this time. So yeah, maybe Umbro isn't the big brand that it once was, but I feel like the comeback has been strong, and it's kind of a blueprint for any brand out there struggling on like how to rebuild and where to put those pieces. But I mean, for me personally, I would love to see Umbro back on the big stage. Imagine like one of the big clubs having Umbro again. I feel like it'd be special. I mean, personally as a Chelsea fan, I'd adore that. But even imagine like City or United having Umbro again with that Manchester connection. I think it'd be special, don't you? But that's it. I hope you enjoyed that mini documentary on Umbro. It's a bit different for the channel, but this is the kind of direction I like going in, these little documentaries, being out and about filming, so let me know you enjoyed it. But yeah, it's in a bit. I was gonna do a cheesy walk-off then, but that'd be awful.